you. Wow. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Michelle. How are you?
Awesome. So glad that you decided to say yes to join me on Michelle's Conversations That Matter. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Wow.
Wow. Are you sick of the rain? Because I don't know about you, but like it's really getting old. I know yesterday you gave me a pep talk about you can't have flowers and sunshine. Like, what was that?
Well, look, the rain is great. I actually enjoy the rain because without it, we don't have the sunshine.
For days, Doug? For days?
Sometimes, yeah. Well, look, in Alaska, they have, no sun for days. So.
It's true. It's true. Anyway, thank you so much for saying yes to sharing your story here today on Michelle's Conversations That Matter. What I'm up to with this series is I want to have those conversations about mental health related challenges. I want to inspire. I want to educate people. I want to go there and be real and have these conversations be relatable for people. So I'm really grateful that you agreed to talk about your story around anxiety, because I think it's going to make a difference for people. If you follow the CDC statistics now, we're in this pandemic. They're saying 1 in 3 people in America are dealing with anxiety or depression. 1 in 3. This is this is real. So we need to talk about it. So for the audience, so they can get to know who you are, can you take a moment to just introduce yourself, who you are, where you live, and what you do?
I sure can. Won't take that long. My name's Doug. I'm a management consultant with an international management consulting firm. We lead workshops and trainings for corporations, executives, CEOs, all the way down to workers in the emergency room. And we create breakthroughs in cultures and leadership. I live in New Jersey, the Garden State, where it rains.
Yeah.
I've got 2 college boys that are working remotely from home, one at Michigan State University, and the other is at County College here in New Jersey. Let's see, what else do you want to know about me?
No, that's perfect. I think people just need to know the foundation and so people know sort of our relationship. So I have known you, my goodness, how long have I known you? I feel like I've known you forever through the work we did with Landmark.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a good 20 years there.
What? Really? No.
I've been in well, when did you participate? I've known you since then.
I don't know. It's been a while. It's been quite a while. And then I remember doing the money seminar with you. That was great. That was great. Yeah. Good stuff. Anyway.
We made a lot of money in that seminar.
Good conversation there. Yeah. So, I am such an advocate for storytelling, and I think you know that about me. I have had no problem telling my own personal story with depression, with my mother's story. I believe that storytelling really helps create a relatedness with people so they don't feel so alone. And that's part of the reason why when I talked to you about your own story of anxiety, I was so grateful that you'd be willing to tell your story, because I know there are so many people that are probably out there dealing with this and feeling like I should just power through. I should just be fine. I should be able to deal with this. So could you take us on a little journey of sort of your story around anxiety and how that unfolded?
Absolutely. I mean, let's just take a look. I mean, you mentioned at the top of the call here that the pandemic came, and the statistics, I'm not sure what you said there, but there is a general overall increase in anxiety. And a lot of people have a misunderstanding about what anxiety or generalized anxiety disorder is, or panic attacks. And, there are... it can be for other people that don't understand it or haven't had it, just take a glass of wine or go for a walk, and just a little background. I grew up in the entertainment industry, in the music industry. As you can see, there's some gold records on the wall. And I grew up in an environment of really high-paced, high-fast, produce the result, make it happen. My father was one of the pioneers of the British invasion with the the Rolling Stones in the United States. And so when I was a kid, I was brought up in that world, and I wound up going into it myself for many, many years. And if we look at, I'm trying to actually remember the first time I realized I had anxiety. So a good way to explain it is, as we are with each other, if I stop talking for a minute, you'll hear what people call an internal dialogue or a background conversation, and it's already there. So if I stop talking now, you'll hear yours, and the people that are watching this will hear theirs. Watch. So it's going like, well, how long is he going to stop talking? Why is he doing this? What's that? So there's a background conversation that's there. He better start talking soon because this is my podcast, whatever that is. And that's for me where the anxiety lives. And it's when that conversation starts to get rapid or out of control, there are certain body sensations that happen with it. And I first discovered this when my best friend died, Chris Wilde. We were in our late 20s or 30s, and my mother called me up, and I was living in California at the time, and she said, Chris is dead. And something happened. I couldn't process the fact that he wasn't alive anymore. And I couldn't think straight. And that background conversation that I was talking about was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Well, what's going to happen? How do I get there? Why didn't his mother call me? And I could not manage the rapid conversation. And then when I tried to calm down, there was body sensations that came along with that rapid conversation. There was trembling, there was sweating, I was irritable. I couldn't control it. And I remember trying to go running, and nothing helped. And that was the first experience of it. And throughout, and here's the other thing is that when people who suffer from panic attack or anxiety, especially people who are accomplished and successful, they don't want to talk about it. It becomes, I don't want to let people know that this is happening. I don't think they'll understand it. In fact, I have proof that they don't understand it because they don't. They say, well, just take a deep breath. Or I have anxiety too. Why do you have to make such a big deal of it? And so for a long time, that kind of suppressed my willingness to talk about it and be proactive with anxiety and panic attacks. Now, there's a difference between, for me anyway, generalized anxiety disorder and panic attacks. So the generalized anxiety, which I discovered again in the beginning of the pandemic, I was in the process of moving to California. Yeah. My firm was relocating me to our Laguna Beach office, and I had gone out. I found a place to live with my son. My oldest son was going to move with me, finish college there. My youngest was going to Michigan State, and got the condo, put our house on the market, and people were looking at the house. And then a week later, COVID hit, and everything changed. And not only did we not move, but I eventually wound up getting laid off. And so now I'm starting to have those feelings again, those thoughts and rapid thinking on what am I going to do? And let me pause that and just go back for a second. 2.5 years ago, actually 12 years ago, I got divorced. And Andrea and I had a really successful divorce. We still ran a business together, worked together, and we would volunteer with the kids at school together at the soccer games. And 2 years ago, she passed away. Mm-hmm. And in that moment, there was also a feeling of uncontrollable thoughts and anxiety, and how am I going to handle this, and how am I going to work with it? And we got through that. So when she passed, I moved back into the marital home, a trigger, okay? Yeah. Moving back into a house that I had left 12 years ago. Right. There's memories, thoughts, and I noticed the anxiety happening, and I couldn't wait to move to California. Yeah. I couldn't wait to get out. And
Yeah.
then it was snatched away. Right. So now I'm back in the house. I don't want to believe that this is happening. And then in June, I took a voluntary layoff from the firm I was with. And the feelings of anxiety and panic started to happen again.
Right.
Overthinking. And the way that it works for me, and I think it's different for people,
Sure.
but I have this when it clicks in, there's an obsessive desire to try to remember things, find things that are lost, try to manage the thinking. And then what was I just thinking? I can't remember what I was just thinking. I got to remember what I was just thinking. And there's a shortness of breath, a muscle tension, and I'll walk around outside. But this time when the COVID hit, it wasn't working. What I knew to do was not working, which is how and when I discovered your webinars on how to, how to manage mental health at home. And some of the tips that you gave were awesome, which was, to change the lighting, don't work in the same place that you're having dinner. And it really made a difference. And the one thing that I discovered in those webinars with you and your team was that maybe it's time I should reach out for some professional help about this, to people who know about the chemical imbalances and what goes on in the brain with mental health, and get their opinion. And I did that. And so combining the tips that you gave for us and going to my primary care physician and doctors, I actually got a medication. And the medication had to take some time, like a couple of weeks. But since then, there has been a sense of calm and peace. And I have found myself more productive and effective. Took a job with a new firm in Houston, Texas, Mark Kamen and Associates. And I'm back. And I'm back stronger and more powerful than I have been in, I want to say, years. And we're making it work here with my sons and myself in this time of, COVID.
Wow. Doug. So I can't, I'm so moved by that, because all I want to do in the world is help people be okay, not being okay. And have the courage to get support. I feel like there's so much shame, there's so much embarrassment, there's so much just, tough it out, deal with it, when there's clinical support, there's options, and people don't need to do that. So for me to hear that helped lead you to get support, that is, amazing. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that you participated and got that. So thank you.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, there's a little bit of, I guess, male ego and not wanting to admit that this is happening to me. There was some apprehension I have about talking about it. But ever since those, I think I attended 3 of your webinars. Ever since that, I've been just sharing about it and my journey with it and my story about, because look, this thing left alone, can be crippling and can cause real damage to the person with it and to their family and friends. And if you don't identify what it is, you could actually think you're having a nervous breakdown. And it's not that.
Oh, wow.
It is not. There is a difference there. This is something that is manageable, both through holistic exercise, diet, and it's really able to be controlled.
So your message I'm gathering is, don't ignore it. Acknowledge how you're doing. And I think your message about the ego is really important, because I honestly, I think about the people who've lost their jobs, who are dealing with financial strain, who maybe are struggling in relationships. And when these are men dealing with this, it's far less comfortable to acknowledge what you're actually, struggling with, to reach out for support. So I appreciate you saying that. Any other words around men men reaching out that you want to offer around ego?
Yeah, I want to point to something here. I mean, we think, or some people think, that we should be strong and lead the family and, hunt and gather food and bring home food. It's not like that now. This is a very serious time in our life.
Yeah.
And especially now around the election, around COVID, and this anxiety disorder, when it gets triggered, can really cause havoc if it's not managed properly. And, and again, I want to point back to those webinars that you did, because I don't know what I would have done, but that gave me a platform to stand on and really look to see what I can do. And I didn't want to reach out for help because almost, I want to do it my way. I got to do it the right way. And I know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how I'm going to do it. And I'm going to power through it. And I didn't have to do that anymore. And, for me, making a difference or contributing to people is at the core of who I am. Mm-hmm. But when somebody wants to make a difference with me, I'm like, what do you mean? Why? What do you want back? And I actually dropped that guarded way of thinking and being and allowed people to contribute, like yourself, to me and my physicians that really diagnosed what was happening.
So your particular strategy and treatment plan includes what? You said you found a medication, you have a therapist or a clinician supporting you. Are there any other things that you're doing to help manage your anxiety?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, I stay very engaged in my job, and I like to accomplish results. So being able to see a tangible result, especially during the time after I was laid off and the COVID, where I thought everything was being stripped away, to be able to see that I'm actually doing something, that I'm actually making a difference in the lives of other people. Mm-hmm. And, by sharing this condition about anxiety, it may touch somebody else who has it and say, hey, wow, I got that going on. What can I do about it?
Right.
And, and I also get out and I used to run, but I can't run anymore because of a spinal issue, but I walk, I do power walking and, moving the body and getting outside because we are locked, not locked down anymore, but we're going to be inside for a long time and we're not going to be flying on airplanes and we're not going to be going to corporations to do meetings for quite some time.
Right.
And also to avoid the triggers for anxiety. And look, people, I think for me, a couple of things that trigger it is being in very small places, like claustrophobic. I don't know if that's claustrophobic, but it can happen on a small airplane. I don't like small airplanes, and I fly on airplanes, every week. And also breathing exercises and meditation. Mm-hmm. And some of the things that you recommended by changing the scents and smells in the house. I burn sage and incense and change the lighting, and yes. And it activates some of the other senses in my body to take my attention off of that rapid thinking. Yeah. Some people also call this the freight train brain or the monkey mind.
Yeah, yeah.
Or you know what? Here's a perfect example. Have you ever heard? Somebody brought up a song to me the other day. We built this city on rock and roll by the Jeff.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, I'm like, I can't get that song out of my head.
Earworm.
Yeah, right. I built this city. So anxiety has that kind of attachment to thinking. It's like when you can't get a song out of your head.
Yeah.
The thoughts or the processes are just like that. They just won't stop.
Yes. Yes. I can relate. I had an earworm the other day. And no matter what I did, I couldn't get it out of my head. It was the most annoying thing. And it wasn't even a good song. I was so annoyed. So that makes it very relatable for me because it's like you don't have a choice. You have to listen to it. Yeah.
What it is it's we feel like we're out of control with it. Like there's no power over it.
Right.
And you can't stop it. It has a life of its own, and it takes you off in a different direction. So the first thing is to identify that that's happening, rather than I got to listen to something else to get the song out of my head, but really, like that.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. Pausing and reflecting. I think it's very common, and I know for me personally, I'll just busy myself to distract myself, and actually, that's not that. It's better to meditate and be in the space of listening to what's really going on. So I appreciate what you just said. The other thing I want to mention for people who are watching, I want to share those three tips that I share in my resilience program around your workspace, because I think they're really helpful. I know I do it. So there are three things you can do to revitalize your workspace. To play on your senses, like you just said. So you can change what you look at, you can change what you're listening to, and you can change your smelling. And those three things can revitalize your workspace so you feel energized by sitting there. Because I know a lot of people are working from home. It's getting very sleepy. It's the same routine. Your personal life is starting to blur into your work life, and you're working long hours. If you want to refresh your space, that's what I recommended, is play on your senses. Get a beautiful picture that you love to look at. Get the essential oils going. I have eucalyptus going in my diffuser behind me. That just wakes me up. And then I try to listen to like soft music in the background when I'm working, because I feel like it calms my nerves. So yeah, I just thought I'd share that, because it's so simple to do, but people, they don't realize, that they can actually do that, and it'll boost their mood and their energy.
Yeah, all of those I do religiously daily.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
Doug, do you have any words of advice for someone out there who might be struggling? I know that you said, don't let it go, but like, suppose there's an individual out there who's like, yeah, I have anxiety, I deal with it, I move on. Like, what if they're really struggling? Do you have any words of wisdom about not ignoring it, or like, what's your advice for someone?
Well, let's just be very clear. There's a difference between worry and real anxiety. I mean, I'm worried about whether it's going to be a sunny day on Friday or Saturday because I'm supposed to go outside. But this anxiety is different, and there's an unsettled feeling. There's irritability that goes along with it. There's muscle tension. There's body sensations, and the real feeling of I am out of control of my thinking that's happening. And the first thing is to identify that and not deny that that's happening, is to be honest about it. And, for me, I would direct people to you and to your offerings, and to let them try some of the methodologies and techniques that you are generating with people, and talk to your doctor.
Yeah.
I didn't do that for years. I thought I could handle it. And there are medications that are out there right now. I don't like taking medications, but this particular one is very mild. There's no side effects. There's no addictive patterns to it. And, I feel different and great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think, let's talk a moment about medication, because I think people are like, you have people from two schools of thought. I'm not taking a pill. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to just, relinquish my power to a pill. I feel like it's, everybody is different, and you just don't know.
Yeah.
And medication is improving, and there are options out there, so you just said it. I don't like to take medication, but you and your clinician worked together and found something that worked. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And this is a low dose of a drug called Lexapro, and I can't even tell. It literally, there's no side effect feeling from it, so I'm not feeling like I'm buzzed or anything like that. There's just a sense of clarity and normalcy that's present now, and I find myself being more engaged, more effective, productive, and not so worried about when the next panic attack is going to happen, or if there's going to be one. That's really, that's my recommendation. Really, just,
Yeah.
check out your webinars, speak with you, and then go to your doctor. And
Yeah.
people can reach out to me, Michelle. If there's anybody that reaches out to you privately that would like to speak about it,
Sure.
this is a relatively new thing for me to talk about anxiety, because like a lot of people, I didn't want people to know about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, good for you. So we have a comment I just want to pop up. Susan Brown Gobler has said, she's really grateful that we're having this conversation. Anyone who has a question or a comment, please feel free to share. We are grateful that you have taken the time to watch this episode this morning with us. So before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to share, Doug, about anything going on that you want us to know about, or any other final thoughts?
My gosh, let's see. Well, I'll say this, the silver lining of the pandemic for me is I met an incredible woman, and I am head over heels for her. And if it wasn't for the pandemic, I never would have met Nancy. And I'm just, and I didn't think that was going to happen. And my gosh, here we go.
That's awesome. And your whole disposition, it's like your whole disposition. I remember when you came to the first webinar, I reflect on sort of where you were then and like where you are now. And it's like, I love that you're like illuminated and in a good space. And I'm really happy to have seen that.
It's really, and I also, in the same note, I just want to thank you for your support and your commitment to mental health and well-being, and pointing people in the right direction and offering, alternatives to what could be very crippling for people.
Yes. Thank you, Doug. Thanks for saying that. All right. On that note, thank you so much for spending some time with me this morning. I hope you have a sun-filled Saturday tomorrow, and you have a great weekend. And thank you so much. And I will let you know if anyone wants to reach out to you. Thanks. That'd
be great. Michelle, thanks again. And I'll see you around the campus.
Sounds good, Doug. Bye-bye.
Okay. Cheers.